Welcome back to the session on context implementation in Golang. So we had gone through, we had discussed actually three videos. One is how to cancel the context with the deadline and with timeout. Other one is how do you cancel the context just by calling cancel function. And the third one is how goroutines are leaked whenever we are using a context and then close canceling the context, how there is an effect on goroutines if you do not properly uh, close context, or sorry, if you do not properly cancel context, or you don't use proper paradigms when you are canceling context. Right, this video is about two things. Number one is how the cancellation is propagated across multiple functions. Number one. The second thing is, in the previous video part number 3, I discussed about leakage of coroutines, particularly whenever we are using context. I also showed, if you do not watch that particular video, you can see that particular video. It's a part 3. It would be in the description. So this video solving that particular problem and then explaining you how the propagation of cancellation happens whenever a context is cancelled. So let's get into the demo. As usual, I'm going to create a new example, mkdir context channel cancel propagation, context channel cancel propagation, go mod init demo code main.go. So I don't want to take much time for this particular video, don't want to do the repeated code, so just copying the code from my previous example, copying the code and then placing the code over here. If you want to know what this particular code does, I think you can go to the previous video part 3 and then leakage of goroutines whenever we are using context. That particular video you can go and understand what actually I'm doing. Here cancel propagation is what actually I'm trying to explain. So this is a receiver goroutine. I wrote it here, receiver goroutine, and then this context.error is going to explain you, is going to give you why a particular context is cancelled. And over here I also write fmt.println sender goroutine. It also give you why the context is cancelled. So in our previous example, there was one scenario where the goroutines are getting leaked. Actually, I'll show you in this example. So the leakage of coroutines is not for every iteration. Sometimes they leak, sometimes we don't get the traces of that that particular leak. So here you see that it got closed, receiver goroutine is closed, and also sender goroutine is closed. So whenever the context is cancelled, so immediately all the contexts that are used, the parent context and then child context, one is used for the generate squares and one is used for this particular anonymous function. Both the contexts are get the notification that the context is cancelled, so it's timed out here. So timeout is nothing but it gets cancelled once it elapses the time is elapsed. So both the goroutines are two goroutines are there. One is called generate square. Here there is a goroutine, and the other one is called a anonymous function, which is also using the same context as a argument here. So both the goroutines are, you got information that both the goroutines are cancelled. You see that receiver goroutine is cancelled because the deadline exceeded. The sender goroutine is also cancelled because the deadline is exceeded. It exceeds the deadline. Right. So the fatal error I already explained that this particular fatal error is because we are using runtime.goexit. So I don't want to use a timer, and then at the same time I don't want to use a wait group. I just also wanted to show you that how runtime.goexit work. That's the reason I placed it here in the previous example, and then I'm using it even in this current example. Right. So if you want to know if you want to know more about how I can avoid this and then use a wait group, probably I will do another video by implementing wait group, but for this video the focus is more on context propagation, cancellation of a context propagation. So here sometimes we are getting this particular error. This error, I told that goroutines are getting leaked, leakage in goroutines. So when you carefully look at this particular context, the select code, this particular select block, there is a case whenever I'm using whenever it receives a value from this particular channel, context.done returns a channel. Of course context.done returns a channel, but at the same time when the channel is closed, or even at that time actually it is notified, but we are using the default in this particular select statement. So default can leak actually your goroutine because particularly whenever you are checking values or sending values or receiving values with channels, it is not a good practice actually you use default. So default, whenever you are using default, here you may be thinking that I may be thinking, or we may be thinking that there are two scenarios. One is when the channel is closed, when the context is closed. The other scenario is when it is not closed. But actually what happened is sometimes it gets leaked, because why I said sometimes, every time you don't get that error. Here you have not received that error, again you have not received the error, here you received the error. So clearly tells that it got leaked at the sender. So this is the culprit. So whenever you are working with channels and then you use a select block, definitely you prefer to use a case statement rather than use a case statement rather than actually default statement. Don't use default to send values to the channels or to receive values to the channel, even though it may fall to the default case, but that's what usually most of the developers do. I used proper case statement, and then I want to send the value 1, and then the value is sent to the channel. Actually it's 1 I into I, and then I equal to I plus 1. This is a square function. So now go run. So see that the channel is not leaked, the goroutine is not leaked. So two things here from this particular video we can understand. Number one is propagating cancellation, how the cancellation is propagated to different goroutines, how the context is propagated to different goroutines. So if the context is cancelled, automatically wherever you are using that particular context, everywhere it receives the done signal. That is how it is implemented. So whether it is one function or one goroutine or two goroutines, or one function or more than one functions, everywhere you receive that particular signal that the context is closed. Done means context is closed. The second thing is, whenever you are working with channels, and then one channel is specially used for example context, and the other channel is used for sending a value, do not assume that default writing this sending a value in the sending a value to the channel in default case can work. It sometimes it work. If you look at it, uh, when you test it once or when you test it twice, it looks like it is working, but when you repeatedly test your code, then you can find there is a leakage. So always use case statement. Do not use default for sending or receiving values with the channel. That's a strict rule. So what I want to write it over here: do not use default case to send or receive values to the channel, to or from channel. This is a rule. So that's what about this particular video. I hope you understand. So I will make more videos about the context, because context is one of the most important concepts in Golang, as I told earlier. So I'll make more videos about context. So stay tuned. If you don't watch my previous videos, so please go and watch those videos. So the links are given in the description. Code is also given in the description with a GitHub link. So please go and watch these videos. Thank you very much. Bye bye.